Welcome to This Commerce Life. We are an unscripted podcast dedicated to small businesses and entrepreneurs in the retail and consumer packaged goods space in Canada and the United States.
I am Phil Chang, co-host and co-founder.
And I'm Kenny Vanucci, co-host and co-founder of This Commerce Life.
Our love is the journey to retail, and our passion is sharing that with you every week. Recording in progress. Happy New Year, Kenny.
Happy New Year, Phil.
How are you?
I'm asleep.
Yeah. For listeners,
Tired.
This is about as live as probably we get usually, unless you're at CHFA or one of the shows, but it's like 10 o'clock on January 2nd. So this will actually go out today. So it's about as fresh.
Was this going out today?
Yeah, it's going to go out today.
Oh, I didn't think you were going to do it today.
No, yeah. We're going to.
Oh.
It's the year beginning, right? So the year
so we don't have 50 retakes on this.
We don't have 50. We don't ever do.
Well, we don't do retakes anyway, but
we don't even do one retake.
Well, but it's just me and you. I worry because sometimes they probably deserve a retake.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. But Kenny and I thought, we spent. We
don't usually talk. We talk all the time. We don't usually talk on the podcast, just you and I.
It's true.
Anymore.
It's true. I was going to say that. I think we spent a lot of time talking to other people, and then we used to do every now and then we do a just the Knucklehead session, and we haven't done that in a while, and so today's kind of like just the Knuckleheads, right?
So Phil just wanted me to get up early on January 2nd to do one of these.
Yeah, I roused Kenny early. It's like 10 a.m. Eastern Standard Time, 7 a.m. Toronto time. I had a chance
7 a.m. my time, not your time. My time.
Sorry, 7 a.m.
I'm not doing 4 o'clock. I mean, I love you, but I ain't doing 4 o'clock for you.
No.
That's a little much.
No,
I mean, I've done 5 with you, I think, or 6.
I think you've done 5 or 5:30, and definitely 6s. We've done a bunch of 6s.
I'm not doing a 4 for you, man. But, I love you, but seriously,
4
is a little much to ask.
4 is a lot to ask of family, even.
My God, seriously.
Like, how close we are, right? So that's a lot.
No shit, man.
Yeah.
I mean, I love you like a brother, but I'm serious.
Anyway, we thought we'd do a year beginning, the two of us. So kind of a lazy start to the day. We hope as you're listening to this tonight or tomorrow morning that we can instill some calm vibes, because tomorrow will be January 3rd and a whole nother craziness as people jump right back in it with vim and vigor.
Right. I forgot that people don't start today. Like I was going to go to the shop or to the store this morning at 7 until last night. And I looked, I thought, oh shit, we got a podcast in the morning.
Yeah.
Right. Because I totally forgot, because I mean, it's Monday. It's not,
it's true.
I forgot that yesterday would have been, today would have been the stat day for most people.
Yeah. Correct.
Because even Amelia's home, she goes, "What are you going? Where are you going to work?" I said, well, it's Monday. And I thought, oh shit, I forgot it's not, it is Monday.
But is the store open today?
Oh God, yeah, it's a 2nd.
Yeah, right? Yeah.
I mean, it's a Monday.
Yeah. So retail just operates differently, right? So
I know, but that's what I forgot. I told her that. I said, I forgot it. Yeah, the store is, it's a stat holiday for most, but it's Monday. And all retail's going to be open.
Yeah. Well, and if you're ethnic of any kind, you were open yesterday, right? So most ethnic stores would have been open yesterday.
Well, to tell you the truth, I mean, even for the most part, well, not most part, but not many. There's very few that close anymore. I mean, I think even when I left London 6.5 years ago, and already well over half the stores were open on the 1st.
Mm-hmm.
Right, and which made sense as a pharmacy. I don't know why it would have been closed. Then people get sick on any day, right?
Yeah.
I mean, really, as a pharmacy, I think you're probably more obligated to actually be open.
Yeah.
Pretty much every day.
Yeah.
Right. I mean, even Christmas Day, we're Canada now. We don't, it's not everybody's celebrates Christmas.
Not everybody celebrates. Not everybody,
the way the country might have been set up, which is a billion years ago. Right. I mean, we are a diverse country. Not everybody is Christian based. Right.
Yeah.
And most Christians don't celebrate the way they,
no, definitely not.
Definitely be serious now.
Yeah. What we Kenny and I started talking just before the podcast started, and we've probably got a whole bunch of things rattling in our heads. There's in my head, there was a bunch of like economic stuff for the year coming up. We've done a bunch of fast thoughts on what we think you should do, but maybe a good place to begin is with the podcast.
What are you thinking?
Well, I guess we should tell people what we're thinking is what I was thinking.
Okay.
Just because I think something Kenny and I don't do well. We don't ask for things very well. We actually are very terrible askers, and we're terrible. We want things. Everybody wants things, and we want things, but we forget that in order to have things, you have to ask for the things that you want or go after the things that you want. So we're good at going after things, but we're bad at asking for things. Right?
Yeah, I'd say it's pretty accurate. Yeah,
so
I'd
so if you
there.
could have one want, if you have one want for the podcast in the upcoming year, what would it be?
Okay, without sounding like a complete jerk about it.
No, forget the jerky.
What I'd like,
because
what
we
I would
already
love,
acknowledge that we are terrible askers. So
right.
Just
I think, you
ask.
know what I want this podcast to what I'd like it to be for you and I would like this to stay the way it is in terms of the content and how we do it, the guests we talk to, but it would be nice to be able to do this more full time, which in essence then means it needs to be well, I don't know if the podcast needs to be monetized as much as there needs to be a monetary component to the podcast.
Mm-hmm.
Does that make sense? You know what I mean? Like
It does.
what I would love to be able to do is to, I guess, figure out a way to either make this entity viable as a business sort of thing,
Yeah.
or to do what I think we both even like to do is help others really leverage how we do the podcast and how we do things to get their story out better.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, put that in English now, because that's usually your function.
Yeah. So I think I heard, and these are things I want to, right? Is both of us love the storytelling aspect of the podcast. So we would love for the podcast to pay for itself. I think
Yes.
translated in English is we would love for the podcast to pay for itself. And then we would love for the podcast to eventually pay us as well. I don't know if that's too much to hope for in 1 year, but
and I'm not even too sure I understand what that means. But that's sort of what I want. Do you know what I mean?
So I think like if
what does that mean? How does that work?
So if I translate that directly, right, is we think that we've had a handful of sponsors on the show. We would love to get more sponsorship. I think the listeners too, you need to tell us if you hate what you've heard in the last kind of 6 or 8 episodes, right? Because we've gotten a couple of I think 3 Switch kind of sponsored commercials in there, and then you've also gotten one from OGB already,
right?
And so I think listeners need to tell us if they hate those, because that would be really important to us. We're not going to do things that you hate, and then 2 is if you don't hate that, we would love to have more, but I think we're careful about who we want as more. So that could be,
well, I would if it meant that people hated it or that we couldn't do this anymore, then I would drop the idea.
Yeah, for sure.
Right.
So I think
I'd rather continue to do this. I like doing what we're doing, and I like the podcast.
Yeah.
I would just love it if it could be more of a way of doing making a living. I mean, as opposed to
so
now if people on Sideways say, "Oh, I hate this idea," well, screw it, then we won't do it, and we'll stay the way it is.
But hopefully, the podcast can pay for itself somehow. So
that would be nice.
Might be sponsorships, that might be some endorsements, that sort of thing. In my mind, if I wanted to really like double down on what you said, is I think folks like the brokers out there that provide services, you're listening to a whole whack of brands here, and brands come here for resources. They come here to listen to us. They come here to understand what brokers could do. So the brokers that we've had on the show, we would love for you guys to support us somehow. So
Even
we'd
the
love to have that
distributors, then, if you're going to
conversation.
go down that path, the
Sorry,
distributors
brokers,
would be,
distributors,
yeah, for sure.
People who provide services to brands. Like, I think brands themselves probably less so, because the stories that we tell, they do inspire some people to buy, but that doesn't mean like brands are going to get, huge benefit out of this. But I do think brokers, distributors, people that suppliers, right, who
Right.
supply brands with materials or raw goods, you're probably really well suited for us as
I
well.
think that's
So
the hard part, though. I think that's where the ask
yeah,
gets funny, because
yeah.
I think it's like anything. I don't think I've never. I don't think really any. I shouldn't say it this way, but I'll say it anyway. I don't think any advertising really necessarily goes out and helps you find consumers. I think it builds awareness. And if I'm in a store and I do hear, let's say, a 7-Up commercial
Mm-hmm,
versus a Sprite commercial, yeah, I might be more inclined by the 7-Up,
mm-hmm,
just because I
mm-hmm,
remember. I get that,
mm-hmm,
right? But I think podcasting and podcasts. I mean, I think for brands that come on, I think what's the cooler part is it's just getting the story out. I mean,
mm-hmm,
like everything will happen in the end. Oh, the sales happen, but
mm-hmm,
that's usually the brand's challenge. That's
mm-hmm,
their marketing, etc.
mm-hmm,
These are just extra tools that people get to use or
mm-hmm.
listen to, and
Yeah, yeah,
yeah. So
yeah.
yeah. I mean,
So
I
I
think
think,
definitely it's definitely
yeah,
to your point, more broker distributor
yeah,
probably
yeah,
focused, because you're the ones that can help these brands get to market,
yeah. And
right? The
then
brands have to do a little different thing.
so would love some support from our listeners, I guess, is essentially,
Yeah.
we want to pay for this thing for real. We've been paying for it, and it's fine. We love doing this, we really
Still
do.
do it. We're not going to change. That's just that. But
So
that was my wish.
we'd love to do this. We'd love to do more, I think, is the other thing, right? Is being able to make it out to retailers, but that means, getting out of day jobs and spending time. Kenny and I don't really need excuses to spend time together. That's easy.
No, that's not a big deal.
But we do need to kind of pay some bills and then go out and spend time
Well, I
together.
think just to
So
move around the country, right?
yeah,
Like just you're trying to
yeah,
do things. Like,
yeah,
I think I told you one of the things I liked. Um I liked the session that we did with BC Food.
yeah,
That was kind of fun.
yeah,
And I think it's a good way to pick up a few side hustles where
yeah,
you're actually going out and helping, whether it's
yeah,
the brand or the manufacturer
yeah,
or whoever, right?
yeah,
Just trying to organize the world. Like I enjoyed that. That's kind of
yeah,
cool.
yeah,
I would love to do more of that with
yeah.
with
Agree,
some of the other organizations. Like I
agree.
think it'd be cool if we could do something with CHFA like
Yep,
that. I think it'd be
yep,
cool to do more with BC Food.
yeah,
I
yeah,
don't know. It just
yeah.
Yeah, I
So
don't know. I don't know how to
yeah,
clearly ask what the ask is, but that's sort of what the ask would be, or what the wish would be.
yeah. I think so one wish is financially, to make the podcast financially independent. The
Yeah.
second one is we'd love to work with more groups. So I think, if you are a group or you're part of a group that you think we can bring value to, we'd love to hear from you as well. And then I think the one from me is, if you're a retailer and you're listening to us, we want to hear from you. Um, we would love to bring more retailers on. We would love to, particularly small retailers, independent retailers, or if you've got, kind of a small chain, we'd love to hear from you. We'd love to bring you on the show. I think the listeners would really benefit from the flip side of brand perspective. So if you're a retailer, come on, like, no hard questions. Just come on whenever you want, and then let's have a chat. We'd love to be able to do
I think
that.
that's the difference. Yeah, it's not a hard question. It's not an
Yeah, yeah,
interrogation. It's more of, I do think it's important. I think the difference is in today's world. That's why I love podcasting, I think,
yeah,
right? Because it's typically pretty current. It's usually right,
yeah,
or it can be right away.
yeah,
But I do think it's a really it's a good medium in that it doesn't have a lot of time pressures that you would have if you were
yeah,
on truly a highly produced, highly
yeah,
um, um, a medium that like TV where there's so much money behind it. You can't take an hour, and an
Yeah.
hour isn't an hour. Like, I know there's post-production work that you do on this stuff. So
Yeah.
let's say a podcast that's an hour to record is an hour to fix up.
Yeah.
It's a 2 hour adventure. Well, if
Yeah.
this was TV, this would be like a 30-hour adventure,
Yeah. Yeah.
right?
Yeah.
It's just financially not viable, and it's
Yeah.
not
Yeah.
something you can do. So I think the beauty of podcasting is that like you can get to people, and people get to listen to some really shitty podcasts and some really, really good podcasts and to get some
Yeah.
really, really cool information, right? And I think with
Yeah.
people like us, though, I think we're also accessible after. I mean, if someone really wanted to reach, I mean, people have. I want to come on your show. Yeah, okay, well, tell
Yeah.
me what you do,
Yeah.
right? As long as it works, as it fits within the lane we're in. Yeah, what the hell do
Yeah.
we care? I love talking to people.
Yeah.
I love
Me,
hearing
the same.
how you get to
The
the
same.
market or how
Yeah.
trials and tribulations and
Yeah. The
all
same.
that fun stuff. I know.
Yeah. So I think if you're a retailer, we'd love to talk
I'd
to
love to
you.
hear retail,
Yeah.
right?
Yeah.
Especially this coming year.
Yeah.
Like,
And then I think I want to probably for me the other one is um being able to go out and bring some of these stories to video life, if you will. You know, there are some just really wonderful brands that I think we should be spending some time at. But in order to do that, the podcast needs to pay for itself, so we can do that.
yeah.
But be able to bring like the one that Kenny and I keep coming back to, Sarah Brazier, like who runs Aunt Sarah's Chocolates out in Newfoundland, being able to walk her stores and kind of talk to her in 3D and in video, I think would be really cool. The Farming Karma folks and his bar, Avi's
There's
bar.
so many of them.
There's so many of these stories that we would love to just be able to kind of visit and be able to put some video to.
Do you think that would be
Um,
cool? I mean, I think,
yeah,
so if there's ever anybody, let's okay, let's go huge ask. If there was anybody from like video production, like let's say someone from CBC was listening, or
yeah,
one of the arts councils, or if there
yeah,
was any way to, I
yeah.
would love to do a road show, man.
We would kill. We would
Can you
kill to do
imagine
it.
just starting
Yeah,
in one corner of the country
yeah,
and just like ping ponging like
yeah,
across the country and talking to
yeah,
a lot of the people we've already had on the show?
yeah,
Because I think we've probably covered almost every province now,
yeah. I think we
and
easily
really
have done
just
that.
going
Yeah,
through and showing like um, the entrepreneurs
yeah,
and again what they've done, and I think for you and I it's always the same. It's like it's all the Canadian stories, right? I mean, I love retailing. I don't care what country I'm in or where I'm at. I'm
yeah.
always in
But
retail
Canadian
looking.
stories are
But Canadians,
very.
well, this is we're Canadians, man. I want
Yeah,
to push our own peeps,
yeah,
right, and
yeah,
our own businesses, and let's
yeah. I
let
really
people
do.
contribute to the
Yeah,
overall good of this country.
yeah. I like it. I think I feel like, Kenny and I laugh about this all the time because we're quick to help people, and I'd like to think we do a lot of good helping other people, and then sometimes we laugh at ourselves because we're just idiots, right? Like, you come to your own business and sometimes you're slow to the game. But I feel like in this case we've matured enough that we're kind of like ready to drive these stories that we tell to a whole different level.
Oh, I think
So
we
I think,
can too.
yeah,
I think we can
yeah,
definitely. I think one thing that marketing companies and agencies don't do, I think it's like everything. I think a lot of them do a lot of things really well, but they don't do anything really well per se,
hmm,
right? Unless you get
hmm,
really specific. Like if you get someone, let's say graphic designs within
hmm,
the marketing a bucket of whatever
hmm,
expenditures you have as a company. Those two people typically are ground into specifically just doing really cool design. They'll listen to your story and they'll
hmm,
help you come up with design. But agencies typically, just I mean, in today's world, just from my perspective, how I see, because I've had so many approach me with the brands we have, it's always the focus. Well, um, we'll help you get onto all the social media platforms, and will do advertising for you on Google and all these sites, and it's always that. And I'm thinking, well, that's great, and I appreciate that, but I would really like you to just really help me with the foundational aspects first. Sort of what we talked about with BC Food, like help me with the basics for I appreciate the social media
Mm-hmm.
platforms, and that's
Mm-hmm.
great, but
Mm-hmm.
I'm not asking you I'm not asking for the traditional, okay, it's $3,000 a month in advertising and $3,000 a month retainer. And it always seems to be that's the path. I'm thinking you're so fast to that pitch. It's not what I'm asking you. I would love someone to help me kind of get the whole picture. And then I'll determine which mediums I want to
Mm-hmm.
go on. I don't care what the mediums are at that point. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like, Phil, it's
Yeah.
like in the old school of
Yeah.
marketing, when we were all learning marketing, you'd start with the four P's and you work up. It seems today, this is my perspective again, that as long as you have the brand, they all start at the end. And that's the only part they talk about. And you're thinking, well, but you've missed all the foundational work because
Yeah.
you'll be seen if you're there, but nobody's really going to find you.
So I think, what Kenny's talking about, the other thing that, we've actually been helping people with, that we see, a lot of people struggle with is, like, Kenny and I tell stories really well, and we do a lot of that. And then we meet people, we meet a lot of people along the way that have fabulous stories to tell. And sometimes, the two most paralyzing kind of terms, right? One is be authentic, and the other one is just be yourself, right? So everyone wants to be able to tell their story. They want to do short video, they want to do short stories, they want to do long stories, they want to do stories. And then the worst thing that you hear
So
is
the thing
for
you hear all
someone
the
to
time, though,
say,
it's the same
be
thing.
authentic and just be yourself.
Just
And
be
you
you,
kind of,
just be you.
and then you get deer in the headlights, right? Because everyone goes, well, I don't know what to say now, right? And so what Kenny and I have done a lot of is we've actually taken our storytelling abilities and tried to help people tell proper narratives, right? So, when you get in front of a video camera, if you're shooting a TikTok video or a YouTube video or whatever, what are
But if
the
you're just
first
even doing
things
a
you should say?
podcast,
Yeah, but what are the first things you should say? What kind of things are your
right,
language? So a little bit like a brand standard, but really more of a character standard, if you will.
right.
Because it's about you, right? Like, and if you don't have the right, if you don't have the right words, you don't have the right things to say, then who's going to hear you, right?
Right.
And that's a real
And you
problem, right?
typically
So
do have the right
yeah.
words. You know what you want to
Yeah.
say.
Yeah.
I mean, because in theory, it's
Yeah.
your thing.
Yeah.
I just don't think the modern agencies of today bundle that well, because I think the
Yeah.
race,
It's a
and I hate
struggle.
to say it's so ugly, but it's no different than any agent. I don't care if it's a law firm or it's an ad agency or whatever. The race is to bill.
Hmm.
I mean, it is. That's how they survive, and that's how they feed their families. And there's nothing wrong with that.
That's the other half of what I'm translating is in, when we've approached people, the first thing they kind of say is like, wow, like what's this going to cost us? And Kenny and I usually go, no, like we don't, we do this as a one-off sort of thing. And honestly, we do it probably more because we see amazing stories that really need to surface, right? And so they're really like small packages. But I think here one is the offer and the ask of, listen, if you have wicked stories to tell, come see us. Like, we can help you just shape the narrative properly and then show you how to do this. We don't do recording for you, so we're not a production house. We don't
I'm not
do
a
any of
production
that
house, and I don't
stuff.
want to be an
but
agency either. I want to
but
be
we all
get
we
you
want to do is
prepared.
show you how to do it, and then how to do it right, and then
Right.
you can go away and do it. And we don't have a formula, like, it's based on you and who you are, right? So
But I think
yeah.
that's what it should be, Phil, because I think the
Yeah.
challenge that a lot of the agencies will have, it is a formula. It's a
Yeah.
formula that works for them,
Yeah. Correct.
right? Because the
Correct.
generation of the revenue to keep that machine running
Yeah.
is not necessarily aligned 99 times out of 100
Yeah.
with who they're servicing. And that's not to
Yeah.
pick on agencies. It's fine.
It is
But
what
you
it is.
start to lose
Yeah.
sight of what you're doing. What you're doing is not, the billings are important because it fuels the machine
Yeah.
100%.
Yeah.
But don't lose sight of what you're trying to do.
Yeah.
The point was to help the brands or whoever it was get to their better spot.
Yeah.
And it's not always about just how much advertising budget
Yeah.
everybody has to dump on these
Yeah.
mediums.
Yeah.
right?
Correct.
I build
Correct.
build a cool story around it. Hey,
Anyway, I think
I
I
have no
think
idea
those
what
are
the hell
our
we just
asks,
talked
and those
about, but that was
are
the asks anyway.
yeah, 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 yeah. I am looking forward to some more amazing stories this year. We've already got
There's a lot of stuff we
we
haven't
were just
recorded
looking at
yet.
it. We haven't we've got two this week that we're recording. We've got another one, and we've got some really like just let's see what's coming up.
There's a few more in the hopper,
Um
by the way. I've sent out a few more links.
yeah,
That
so like this
book
in
link.
January, I think Hard Bite Chips is coming out, or they're gonna come
They're coming
on. We've
on.
got the folks from Better Basics on. We've got
Well,
who
this
else
week
do
is
we have?
P3,
This week is
right?
P3, and then we've also got Sustainable who's coming on. And that's just January. Like, so we still have some folks
Which is
that
cool. I think that's more
are
like upcycling and
yeah, yeah,
thing, which
yeah.
I think I just find fascinating.
And you're right, because we have
Well, must be like 4 or 5 in the hopper.
yeah, we have a whole bunch of these in the hopper. I'm actually struggling to recall who. So
I
we
don't
have
remember.
Randy Sahota was
Oh,
on,
we
so
did
he's
Randy
got to
the
come
other day. I
on.
forgot about that. Jeez.
Crystal, we had Crystal, so Crystal's got to come on. We had Chris Bardoff.
Did we do Kyle too?
We did Kyle as well. So yeah, so just and then we still have Sean. Like, so Sean hasn't come on yet. Um, so
Okay.
I've
Wow.
been Sean, if you're listening, I don't know if you are, but I've actually been drinking the juice that Sean in his orchard produces. I've been buying it. I've been drinking it. I actually really love it.
I forgot we did that one too.
Yeah, so we've got a whole bunch of folks on, and then yeah, and then we had some we had yeah, we've just had some really, and then we had Sonia on as well, from Get Jusu. So her podcast will come out as well. And then there are a bunch of folks that had to cancel that we'll have to rebook
I think we had a bunch of
along the
rebooks we have
way.
to do too, right?
Yeah, yeah, we've got a whole bunch of these guys. Yoso was supposed to come on, and then we had gosh, who's the lady that does the broker or the display company? And she was traveling, so she couldn't make it.
They're
We had
asking me, really?
yeah, yeah, yeah. Um, anyway, there's a lady who runs a display company, so they do merchandising display,
Right.
and she was supposed to come on, and she couldn't make it because she had to be out in stores, so we had to rebook her. So we're gonna do that
You
as
know what I want
well.
that if we should I
Um,
want if anybody if any of the if any of the brands even that we've had on or whatever have
mhm.
a retailer that they really like that would love
Yeah,
to come. I would love to have
yeah,
like you asked
yeah,
before. I would love to do more. For example, I loved doing Danny's retail for
yeah,
arrows. I love
yeah.
doing that. I mean, of course,
You
I
know
love
who
Danny,
we'd
but
Avi's Avi was talking about the one guy who the minute he brought in his product, he signed him up right away.
I don't remember who that was.
I wrote it down, but we'll reach out because maybe Avi can make an
I like that.
introduction for us
I
as
think it
well.
would be just cool to have.
Yeah, yeah,
Actually, no, I know somebody. Maybe I'm gonna reach out. I got somebody in my head too now
yeah,
that I might reach
yeah.
out to as soon
But
as we get off this
we
podcast.
would love these. We would love to have folks on. And then I think listeners, like if you have folks that you want us to talk to, definitely reach out and let us know. We'll go after the boss is very good at that.
Yeah.
So Linda sends us people all the time and says, listen, you should talk to these people, and we do. And almost always I think we bring them on.
I mean, it's been very few that I think weren't going to
Yeah,
fit. We've had some that have either been too techy or
yeah,
too financial, where
yeah.
I don't think we're the right podcast for
We get a
what
lot
they
of
were doing.
NFT people.
Yeah, I
Um
don't.
and
Yeah,
I always say no. Just because I understand NFT to an extent, but I just feel like this is the wrong audience. Right? I could be wrong. So if if you're a listener and you really, really, really want to hear about NFT, shoot us a note. We'll make sure we get those people on. But we've generally stayed away from folks that do kind of like those sort of things.
Pitchy.
Yeah,
Like
it's a
we've had a
little
few
too
that
pitchy
could
for
have been
us.
good, but I think
Yeah,
they were just gonna be, it was gonna be too
we're
hardcore.
allergic to pitchy. So
Yeah. Well, I
if
can tell we're not good at pitchy. So I
yeah.
mean,
No, but
like,
we also like I think we're awfully protective of this listenership, right? Is we don't
well, I don't
like
want to listen to it. I'm
yeah,
sorry, not
we
for
don't
anything, but
like
I
pitchy.
mean, no,
Yeah.
no,
Yeah. You sell
not
the
a huge
story
fan.
right and we're good, right? Like we'll make
Yeah.
it, but if you don't, then not so
I mean,
much.
we'll help you
So
pitch later. I
yeah.
mean, we talk about a lot of the brands we really enjoy,
Yeah.
or the brokers or distributors. I have no problem. Someone call. I mean, I have no problem recommending most of the people that we've had on
Mm-hmm.
these programs for
Mm-hmm.
sure.
Mm-hmm.
But I don't like. Yeah, I'm not a big, huge fan of pitchy.
No, not pitchy.
I mean, we're not good at pitchy.
No.
Like
Clearly not.
even this asking shit today is hard.
Yeah,
I
clearly
don't know
not.
how
It's
to.
weird.
I don't know.
It's weird.
I'm not. Yeah, I don't know.
Um, yeah. Yeah, yeah. But other than that, I think we're really looking forward to the year. Like I think we the content's coming on. We need to say thank you to Aaron,
You better say thank
who
you to Aaron.
yeah, because Aaron does all our social media and he's just been a real rock star. And he's just come on with excitement and vim and vigor um
And working for two guys who are not the massively
he is
organized, most
he is
organized two
so
people on the
calm
planet.
with two idiots. Like
Yeah.
he's just like and I think actually the only thing is like his problem is different from every other marketer's problem is Kenny and I actually generate a lot of content.
I think sometimes it's almost too much
And so
content, so it's hard
Aaron
for him to
is always
bundle.
like but he never yells, right? Like sometimes
No.
I forget the schedule and I post shit and then I can see it on his face almost like he's like, guys, what the fuck? Like we have a schedule and then we'll just post stuff, right? We break his stuff, but he's so calm about it all the time.
We have a
Um,
schedule?
yeah, yeah. Well, Aaron
Oh,
has a schedule, and you and I just
I
we're
don't
all
have a
over the place,
schedule.
right? No, no, this
I just
is what
have it.
I'm
Whatever
saying,
comes,
right?
if it
So,
comes into my head, it's pretty much going
so,
out.
so if you're a marketer, this is what you're dealing
Sorry.
with, right? Is we generate above average content, above average in quantity at least,
Quantity.
content. Yeah,
I
yeah,
think
and
quality
then
too, to some degree, but definitely quantity.
well, it depends on how carried away we get. So we
Well,
get carried away, and then it's not so much, but you know.
ah, ah, whatever.
I know, I know, I know.
Whatever.
Oh man, oh
That's
man.
the beauty when it's yours. You can do whatever you want,
It's true. It's true.
right?
Yeah, yeah, yeah,
Whatever.
yeah.
I mean, how bad?
I think that's what you expect from us this year. I don't think we had any kind of like illusions about what we wanted to do with today or any but clearly we didn't have a plan for today but we did want to talk about what we hope to see out of this year. We couldn't thank you guys as listeners enough. Honestly, we get
This is over
interactions from
5
you
years of doing this,
guys
say.
and yeah, yeah.
Like, seriously.
Yeah, and like listenership wise we we're just so thankful because without you guys we really wouldn't be around. We'd just be two idiots talking to ourselves still. So
Yeah.
yeah,
I do like
yeah,
doing this though. Like I do. I do like, I don't know. I think it's funny because people who don't, our families don't really listen to us. We know, everybody knows that.
yeah,
But like we were at a party the other night. We're the other night, last night. When was New Year's? 2 nights ago, whenever the hell New Year's Eve
yeah,
was. And it's funny when people come, like people. I've heard your podcast, and you're thinking, really?
yeah, yeah,
Like you're not even in this industry.
yeah,
Like why would you be listening to a podcast like this podcast?
yeah,
It's just, you know what I mean? Like it's, you're thinking, oh, and it's cool, right? Because I think, oh, then it's kind of embarrassing too, because you're thinking, oh, geez, why do you know? Really? Kind
I
of
know.
weird.
It is kind of weird,
Like, what are you
but
listening to? Like, seriously?
yeah, but it's kind of cool too.
But they do. They
Really,
like it's they like our banter and they like the way we get
yeah,
along. I said, well, because we're friends.
yeah, yeah,
It's I said it's more like
yeah.
family now than anything. But I said
Oh
it's
yeah,
but they do like the. I think it does. I think they find the stories interesting too. I think it makes it different. Like when you're eating the potato chip or the snack or the the kombucha or whatever it is. Like I think all of a sudden it just changes the feel of the product. Like I think because you became friends with these people in a sense, right? That's
but
podcasting is so cool that way. Like how do you
but I
do
do
without
find that
television? Like
interesting.
how do you do
Yeah,
that?
I do find that interesting because I think it's funny because yesterday I had humble chips in my on my table and we had friends over and so they were eating the chips and then I was telling them the story about the bag, right? And it just makes it's like it makes everything taste a little bit better.
It just changes it, right? It's kind of cool, right? Because then people
Yeah,
get
yeah, 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 yeah,
a
yeah,
different thing with it, right?
yeah. And I had humble on my table. I had some Cascadia left, like the seaweed stuff.
Yep.
And then I had Poco out as well.
Okay, so you had everybody
So
out.
it's a pretty interesting story, right? And then we had some of Sean's juice out, and like it's just interesting, right? Oh, and then Chris Bardoff's stuff was her stuff was out, so people were kind of mixing and talking about it. I had some of her gin and tonic, non-alcoholic gin and tonic, so it was kind of cool. Anyway, yeah, no,
See what
I do.
it's just
I think it
interesting,
makes
right?
it richer. I think everything gets a little bit more interesting like that. So
Maybe that's what it is. I think
yeah,
it's that. It's just I think it just becomes more,
it's more
I don't know,
interesting.
maybe more
100%.
personal, more, yeah.
Yeah, 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 yeah. I think so.
Like it's hard,
I
like
think
'cause I
so.
think that's when people ask, like sometimes
Yeah,
they'll ask me, how do you like doing it, the podcast, or what do you like about it? And you know me, like because I don't articulate it well because I'm not too sure half the time what it is. I don't know. I mean, a lot of it's obviously I like talking to you. Um, I just like talking in general, and I do like these brands, and I like the reach, I
yeah,
like the industry, I like all of
yeah,
it. But
yeah.
it's just weird, right? Because it's such a, I don't know. We're pretty lucky we get to do this shit, right?
We're very
We're pretty
lucky.
lucky that actually we were
Yeah,
able to get to the point where we are with
yeah,
this thing,
yeah,
where it's just I don't know. It's pretty
yeah,
cool. I actually look forward, like I do. Like the beginning of the week, I'll look ahead and think, okay, what are we doing this week?
yeah.
Who's
What's going
on?
on? Yeah, the
Right?
podcast kind of
Who are we talking to?
drives how we do things pretty much,
Yeah.
which is kind of cool. It's kind of cool.
Anyway.
Anyway, thanks for listening. Happy New
Oh,
Year.
yeah. Thanks for listening, everybody. I keep forgetting that we actually just sometimes I think it's I forget that it's just not just you and I yip yapping.